Turner and the power of sliding into DMs is, I think, how this happened. So I did something with Turner. Shout out to Turner for doing stuff during the pandemic. And then Isabelle had done something as well. And I was like, commented, and I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. Cause in my mind, I was like, oh, performers are still doing things. Like, let's talk. Like, I want to talk to people. So, like, there is some kind of community with people that want to perform in the pandemic. And then Isabelle had a brilliant idea and messaged me about it. And I'm so happy that she did.
Yeah, it was just like one of those things where we were trying to think of something that would be really inconvenient and funny to have to transition to an online platform. And I don't remember how exactly we got to like a high school student body election, but it just felt like the goofiest thing that could possibly happen, and far enough removed from the current situation where we could dissociate a little bit.
How do we create them? Because in high school shows, you have to have archetypes. And I feel like we had a very productive, I think, hour and a half call where it's like, okay, who are the people that live in high school? And we were like, okay, great. And there were all these different archetypes because you have to have a cool person and like an awkward person. And also it's Gen Z. So thinking of what that looks like for current high school students. And I would say the fun of playing the characters is I get to live out all of my different personalities that never see the light of day in all of my characters, except Mort that definitely sees the light of day. But I get to be confident with Madison and I don't move in my life like that at all. And then with Darla, I can get all my teacher frustrations that I never got out from teaching high school. And then Mort, I just get to be myself, but it's funny because I do a different hair and I put in my retainer, which is my actual retainer. So that's fun.
Oh my God. Yeah. Nope. That was definitely the process. Trying to think of like, who are the weirdos we went to high school with and who were we in high school and how does that translate? Yeah, I mean, Deborah is actually based on a real person named Deborah who was a PTA president and had a petition to get rid of all of the magic books from my school because she didn't want her children to go to hell. So she's just fun to play because she's a real person I actually know, and it's just fun to think about what she does in her spare time. Brent has the misplaced confidence that I never had in high school. So he's just fun to play because he's just like, it's just fun to pretend like that's who you are as a person when you're not. And I think for Heather to me is like the amalgamation and like overhyped version of all the things that I find to be toxic traits about myself, but like minus the rich people part. And so it's like very cathartic to play her, I think.
This makes sense for season 2. Music. Like I think that's how it's evolved. Like music, it's way more experimental. There's way more instruments involved. I've been practicing my clarinet more often. Isabelle's a great male singer. She's gonna be Justin Bieber. It's great. And then inviting other people in the improv community. I think that's how it's changed. We've opened the world.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it was a lot of just, if this is true, what else is true from the first season, which was made a lot easier by having additional people and characters who could build out the weird worlds of our weird characters, and really allow us to just like deep dive into relationships. I think the first season was definitely more focused on us just being silly. And I think this one we really like took the relationships and characters more to heart, so it could be a deeper dive into really who they are and how weird they really can be.
We're babies.
Babies. Well, I mean, most of the series is improvised anyway. I think that just what helps from having live experience performance is just not getting caught up in trying to make something funny or trying to make something. And especially when you're filming, you're not in the same location and you're really basing your scene chemistry on a Zoom call, which is really difficult. I think the fact that Simone and I worked together before on stage doing the heist helped a lot because we already know kind of how the other one plays. But just like, yeah, just naturally finding the fun, not trying to be anything you're not going to be, really stems a lot from the live improv experience.
Yeah. I would say like doing the heist and knowing our styles, robbing a bank together in a practice that no one ever saw or ever will see has helped. And I think like I would say I'm more of a character player, and I think that's probably true like as you know for you having done the heist and done like other acting projects, like I do think knowing your character's wants and desires makes making a web series so much easier because you can't really do that much with a premise on Zoom unless you're like, I don't know, or Adrian and like can put you any or Jermaine, I don't know, but like I don't have tech skills like that. So I do think leaning on characters helps. And then also like knowing formats that are good for a web series that would propel the movement forward. So like the first season is more of like a dusty in terms of how we make that move, but that like helps with plot, like building the plot forward. I haven't gone crazy, so that's how it's helped. So when I saw this question, I wrote it. I was like, so some people have babies in the pandemic, some people get married,
Mm-hmm.
some people travel despite CDC recommendations. I've done none of those things, but I did make a web series and I'm really happy about it. And that's my baby, and that's okay. And I'm now in a relationship with Isabelle. So there you go.
Yeah, so that's really a benefit for all of you watching is Simone and I are in love and you're welcome.
Mm-hmm. But
yeah, no, I agree. I think it kept the sanity. It made me feel like, because online improv has been really difficult, and so doing something that's still improvised but feels more tangible was really nice. And also, I mean, with Simone being one of the best improvisers in DC and getting the opportunity to actually like work with her, not just work with her, but like one-on-one get to create a show has been a real highlight. So that's been great.
Can I just also say that Isabelle created this entire concept and was like a lead robber in the heist, like at Fringe Festival, which is like no small task. So it's been a pleasure working with her. Yeah, structure with improv is so much, it helps. It helps.
Definitely. Structure in the pandemic helped.
Yeah, like, oh, we have a weekly call to make some. I think that's the other thing where it's like you're trapped in the house and there's no end date. But like, I think making a web series is I have control over this one thing in my life, and I can control whether or not I learn iMovie. And it will take forever, but I learned, but that is one tangible thing that I can get out of a year that has been crazy.
Yeah. And then I think like one of the coolest things too is just that we did it at the beginning of the pandemic, or we did season 1, and season 2 has been sort of the conclusion almost of the pandemic, where we started it and we literally hadn't seen people in months and like hadn't seen each other in months. And now we're ending it where we actually, like, spoiler alert, got to finish in person together at a park, like both vaccinated. Like, it's just crazy. It's really cool to see that kind of full circle of the pandemic in the series as well.
Ah, great.